I flew across the country for my dad's retirement party, but they didn't let me in because it was family only. I didn't make a scene. I just wrote this letter. 3 days later, I woke up to 53 missed calls. It's funny how the brain fills in blanks. Like when you fly across the country for a man who helped raise you, believing deep down that he must have meant to invite you, that there must have been a mistake, typo, a missed email, a last-minute change of plans. Forgot to tell you about something. Anything but the truth you don't want to face. I landed that morning, still jet-lagged in a city that didn't feel like home anymore. My heels clicked across the marble floor of the event hotel while I tried to steady my nerves. I'd picked out a simple dress, brought a tasteful bottle of scotch, and tucked a card into an envelope I hadn't sealed. The envelope also contained a check that I hadn't told anyone about, not even my therapist. I had been preparing myself to feel out of place. What I wasn't prepared for was not being allowed in at all. The receptionist smiled politely, too politely, that kind of forced customer service smile people use when they're about to ruin your afternoon. Name? Eva Carter? I said, smoothing down my dress. I'm here for the retirement party. Daniel Carter. Her eyes flicked down the list on the clipboard, scrolled again. Then she frowned. I don't see you on the list. Blinked. Sorry, it's probably under family. I'm his daughter. Her mouth opened, then closed again. Right, of course. Just a moment. She tapped her headset and mumbled something I couldn't hear. Then she looked at me again, all compassion and discomfort. Someone will come speak to you. That was the first red flag. But you know what they say. Love is blind and sometimes dumb as hell. So I stood there awkward and smiling while guests breezed past me in designer suits and cocktail dresses. Woman in a glittery gown walked by, holding a balloon bouquet that said, Bon voyage. I stood there holding my scotch and my envelope like a kid who'd showed up to the wrong birthday party. Then a hotel staff member appeared and asked me to follow him. I thought I was being taken inside. Instead, I was led to a private hallway behind the ballroom where my father, my brother Rob, and his wife, well, the wife, not my stepmother, let's not get carried away, were waiting. My father's arms were crossed. Rob looked like he had just sucked a lemon, and the wife was pretending to check her phone, like maybe she could text her way out of being complicit. I laughed because of course I did. What else are you supposed to do when your own family gives you the we need to talk face like you're the one who's ruined everything? Oh, hi, I said. Is this the VIP entrance or Eddie? Dad didn't even crack a smile. Ava, this is a private event. It's for family. Stared at him. You know I'm your daughter, right? Unless there's been some Maury-level reveal I missed. Rob rolled his eyes. Don't make a scene. Looked down at the gift bag in my hand, the neat little card sticking out of the envelope, and then back up at the people who were supposed to love me. You invited the Hendersons, I said. They live 2 doors down and once tried to sue us over a tree route. It's about chosen family, Dad said quietly. There was the phrase that launches 1,000 therapy bills. I flew across the country, I said, still hoping idiotically that someone would stop this, that someone would say, Ava, this is a misunderstanding. Come in, have some shrimp cocktail. But they didn't. You made your choices, Dad said. Wait. Wanted tonight to be peaceful. Peaceful. As an Eva free. Rob looked smug. His wife offered me a half-apology smile like, sorry you weren't cool enough to make the cut. And that was it. I stood there, in heels that were starting to pinch, and said nothing. Because what do you say to a father who uninvites you from his life, but still thinks he deserves your respect? I could have shouted. I could have demanded a reason. I could have flung the gift bag at Rob, calls you selfish, and tells everyone you're dead to it. My dad was the CEO of Emotional Vending Incorporated. When I was a kid, he used to call me his little star. Usually when I won something. Spelling bee, piano recital, perfect attendance, he'd brag about me at barbecues, slap me on the back like I was a miniature stock portfolio, performing well. But when I got sick in ninth grade and missed 2 weeks of school, suddenly I was too dramatic. I told people I had a flair for exaggeration. I was literally in the hospital with a fever of 103, and he joked that I just wanted attention. Funny thing is, he wasn't wrong. I did want attention. I just didn't think I had to earn it by nearly dying. Then there was Rob. Rob, the chosen one, the Messiah, the human golden retriever. He could wreck the car and Dad would say, "He's young. He'll learn." I got a parking ticket once, and Dad called me irresponsible and asked if I even understood how money worked. Of course, that didn't stop him from asking me for money when things got tight. Yeah, let's talk about that, shall we? Fast forward to adulthood. I moved out at 18 the minute I could. Not because I was brave, because I was exhausted. Home was like walking on eggshells in a minefield. While blindfolded, you never knew what would set him off. I got a job. I moved to another city. And eventually, I started to breathe again. But the calls kept coming. At first, it was just the occasional guilt trip. You never visit. Rob misses you. Your mother's turned him against me. Then came the small asks. Could you help cover the electric bill this month? I forgot to renew the car insurance. Can you spot me? And then the bigger ones, medical copays, emergency vet bills for the dog, a mysterious loan. That was just until next payday. Payday that shockingly never arrived. I paid. Not because I was rich. Wasn't, but because I thought maybe, just maybe, if I kept showing up, if I kept saying yes, he'd look at me like I mattered. Spoiler alert, he didn't. He looked at me like a bank account with bad boundaries. I didn't even realize how much I'd contributed until I tallied it all last year. I'd covered nearly 9 months of his rent, piecemeal, of course, so it never felt like too much. At once, I'd paid off a dental procedure for his wife. I'd co-signed for Rob's used car when Dad's credit didn't cut. And the big one, I covered the deductible when he crashed his boat into a dock because he was tired and the sun was in his eyes. You'd think I'd have learned by then that the vending machine wasn't broken. It just never had anything for me to begin with. But nope. I kept trying until 2 months ago when he called and said he wanted to retire early. 60 was just around the corner, he said. And he wanted to see the world while he still could, before the knees give out, he joked. I laughed because that's what I do when I feel cornered. And then he hit me with it. He wanted to take his wife on a cruise, a long one, multi-country, the trip of a lifetime. And he wanted my help financially. You're still young, he said. You've got years to earn it back. I just want this one thing before I go. Before he goes. Like he was dying, like this was his make a wish. I hesitated. I told him I'd think about it. And the next day I got a text that said, "You've made it clear where you stand. Good to know." Classic. Vending machine. Didn't get the snack. Must be broken. We didn't talk after that for weeks. Not even when I RSVP'd to The party. Well, I tried to RSVP. Never got a response. I told myself it was just Dad being distracted, that maybe he was mad, but he wouldn't actually cut me. Oh. Which is why when I bought the ticket, packed my bag, and flew across the country, I slipped that check into the envelope anyway, because I was still that kid trying to buy her way into a hug. But that hallway scene, that moment, when he looked me dead in the eyes and said, "This is family only," it finally broke something in me. Not like a plate shattering, more like a slow, quiet crack that had been there for years, finally splitting all the way through. So yeah, I voided the check, but not out of revenge, out of relief. Because for the first time in my life, I saw it clearly. I wasn't walking away from love. I was walking away from a performance, one I'd been cast in without my consent, and I was done auditioning. There's something weirdly satisfying about writing a letter with no intention of sending it. Except this time, I was absolutely set about how I was doing. Just Rob being Rob, the patron saint of selective memory. I didn't reply because what do you even say to someone who watched you be humiliated and still thinks you're the problem? But the real fallout came on the third day. 53 missed calls, some from my dad, a few from unknown numbers, one from my Aunt Carol, who I haven't spoken to since she told me my tone was the reason people didn't visit me. Found out what happened from a text from a cousin I barely knew. He sent a blurry photo of my dad holding the envelope, standing in front of a Halaton cake, shaped like a cruise ship. According to him, Dad opened the letter during the thank you speeches. He thought it was a sentimental surprise. The room had gone quiet as he read it. First, they thought he was getting emotional. Then, he turned the check around void in 3 angry strokes. People were stunned. His new wife, the Instagram perfect one who referred to me as his complicated daughter, got up and left the table. Apparently, she thought the cruise was happening next month. Guess she should have married a different bank account. That night, Dad texted again. "Please, call me. We need to fix this." Fix what? My childhood. I finally listened to one of the voicemails just to see if anything had changed. Spoiler, it hadn't. He sounded desperate, but not for me. For damage control. You've made your point. I just don't think it was fair to make it there. People are talking, Ava. People are talking. And there it was again. His favorite concern, appearances. Never mind that. He'd systematically pushed me to the edge of his life, like I was a guest who overstayed her welcome. Never mind that. He'd built a fantasy retirement plan, partially funded by my bank account. Never mind that I had helped pay his bills in silence for years while Rob got praised for remembering birthdays. But I was the problem because I had dared to speak. Well, right. The next few days were wild. I found out from a mutual friend, Reed, someone who used to babysit Rob's kids and now sends me thinking of you memes when drama explodes, that Dad's wife had packed up her things and moved out. Apparently, she'd already posted a vague Instagram story with the caption, "Sometimes the vacation you need is away from the people who hold you back." Subtle. Not saying she was a gold digger, but if the gold did disappear, she wasn't sticking around for the mining. Then came the real kicker. Dad cancelled the cruise. No dramatic announcement, no apology, just a quiet cancellation and a frantic attempt to apply for a new job. Because as it turns out, when you burn bridges with the one person secretly holding your financial scaffolding together, things collapsed fast. Didn't even have to lift a finger. Just one pen, one napkin, one envelope, and Suddenly the man who told me I wasn't family was dealing with the consequences of not having one. The irony, I would have given him the check. I wanted to. Even after everything, even after the guilt trips and the exclusion and the you made your choice garbage, some part of me still wanted to believe there was love under all the manipulation. But there wasn't. There was just need, expectation, control dressed up as affection. And now there's silence, which oddly enough feels like the first honest thing we've shared in years. You know that moment in a horror movie where the monster is finally gone, but the protagonist still checks under the bed, just to make sure? That was me staring at my phone. I didn't answer any of the 53 calls. I didn't need to. The voicemails were more than enough. Dad sounded like a man who'd realized his parachute wasn't packed and the ground was coming up fast. First message. Gentle. Charming. Eva, sweetheart, can we talk? I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding. You know I love you. Second message, slightly cracked around the edges. You didn't have to do it like that. That was cruel. People are asking questions. Third message. You've made your point. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. Congratulations. There was the real problem. I'd shattered his illusion, his perfectly curated fantasy, where I was still in the wings waiting to play the beautiful daughter. Fourth message. Full desperation. I know I've made mistakes, but don't do this. Need to talk before this gets out of hand. Before what gets out of hand? Wasn't sure until I got it. Looking at downsizing. Maybe a small apartment near Rob. Poor Rob. Can't wait for that bundle of joy. He ended the email with this gem. I know you're upset, but I believe we can rebuild this family. I believe in second chances. Second chances. Funny. I'd given him about 50. He just didn't notice because they were quiet, unpaid, and conveniently off the books. That same day, I got a message from his now ex-wife. Short, brutal. Hope the check was worth it. He was never going to take me anywhere. Guess she found out that retiring to travel was just code for hope. My daughter bails me out again. She left him a week after the envelope incident, packed her bags, moved in with a cousin, and changed her last name back within the month. I only know this because a friend of hers followed me on Instagram and sent me a very satisfying photo. Him at a rental agency filling out forms alone. I didn't respond to her either because the truth is I didn't need to. I had already said everything in the letter, not just the literal words, but the act itself, the message. That I wasn't coming back, that I was done pouring myself into a well that never held water. And slowly, the call stopped. The text slowed down. The family drama moved on without me. For once, Rob unfollowed me on social media. Dad went back to work part-time as a consultant, then full-time when the money ran out. No more retirement, no cruise, no tropical Instagram posts with cute captions like living our best life. Instead, silence and peace. I thought I'd feel guilty. I really did. But instead, I felt free, like I'd finally closed the book on a story that never had a proper ending, one I kept rereading, hoping the characters would suddenly change, the dialogue would improve, the plot would make sense. But sometimes the only satisfying ending is walking away from the book entirely. Now I'm building something different. My own life, my own peace. No more surprise emergencies. No more guilt-laced favors. No more family-only events where I'm the ghost in the corner holding a gift no one wants. Just me. And that, my friend, is more than enough. Final scene. I sat on my balcony sipping coffee, watching the sky turn orange over the skyline. My phone buzzed once. Just once. Dad's name. One last try. I let it ring. Then I did the most satisfying thing I've done in years. I deleted his contact, blocked the number, and leaned back in my chair, smiling into the wind like someone who had finally stopped knocking on a locked door. So, was I wrong? Was I cruel for sending that letter? For voiding the check? For refusing to play the beautiful daughter one last time? Or was that the only way to finally break free from a lifetime of emotional debt? I'm not saying I handled it perfectly, but I did what I had to do to protect my sanity. What would you have done? Would you have sent the check anyway, confronted him in the ballroom, walked away in silence? Let me know in the comments. I really want to hear your take on it. And if you want more stories with twists, drama, and quiet revenge, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.